there. So this is a video for kettlebell exercises. We'll do a little upper body, a little bit of lower body, and of course a little core. Keep it short, simple. You can pick your weight on the kettlebell. It shouldn't be too crazy, but you can also mix and match if for some of the exercises you want to grab a heavier one. So first one is a simple side bend. The goal is to get your obliques to fire, and then always holding your stomach muscles in. You hear me mention that a lot in my videos. It's important to engage that transverse abdominis, so that's going to stabilize your lumbar spine. So on the side bending, you want to make sure that everything stays stacked. You're focusing on these muscles, controlling that side bending down, and then shortening the distance from your rib cage down to your pelvis as you come up. From a side view, you're not flexing forward, you're not leaning back, you're just trying to stay in that perfect plane as if there were a clear glass in front of you and behind you, making sure that you're staying nice and upright. So crank out about 20 of these. Again, you want to focus on the far side here. Obviously the weight will shorten the right side, and you're using the left side in order to pull that back up. Always drawing your belly button in as you do this. This is a great exercise. It's functional. It's an ab exercise that you can do standing, which is always nice instead of having to lie down. And hopefully you'll feel like your glutes are firing a little bit as well, just to kind of maintain that alignment and that tuck of your pelvis. So last side view here. You don't want to be here. Get your hips directly over your feet and just come back up to neutral. No need to over side bend to the other side. Go ahead and switch sides. I'll do both sides for you here so you don't have to restart the video. As you reach down, your goal is to try to get the kettlebell below your knee on that side, but you want to always feel like your stomach muscles are in control. If you go too far, it's going to be your low back that takes the brunt of it. That is not the goal here. And again, with any of these abs and glute exercises, you've got to activate the proper muscle. They don't always fire properly automatically, so you've got to get that going. So again, drawing in as if you're trying to make yourself skinny, and then making sure that everything stays completely in alignment. We have about 7 more here. All here. And good. So next is just a basic squat. You can let the kettlebell be in between both legs, and then you're going to dip your weight back into your heels. So as you lower, you're trying to keep a neutral spine, and then the weight of the kettlebell is a little bit of a counterbalance so that you can set your weight back. You'll see my toes every once in a while will come up. That's really forcing that proper squat position as opposed to here. Right, which is a lot easier. It's a very quad dominant squat position. So you're just trying to push that balance point of leaning back on your heels, squeezing your glutes, and then keeping your torso upright so that you're not just pointing your sternum down towards the ground here. You'll notice my feet are a little bit wider than hip width apart. You can play around with that stance. Try not to go too wide. That would be the next exercise. And if you want, you can do a little bit of an upright row here. Get your upper body going. As you row up, you're activating biceps, hopefully a little bit of external rotators as you try to keep your shoulder blades back and down. So it's really easy as you come up to let that shoulder here come forward. So that's where you're trying to set your shoulder back and down. Obviously, low traps and rhomboids doing that, but also those glenohumeral external rotators. Doesn't need to be a full row. The higher you go up, the more likely you are to engage your upper traps and most likely those muscles are plenty strong. We tend to be dominant in those muscles that join our shoulder to our neck. So same thing, depending on your weight, going for at least 15, maybe even 30 here, but paying attention to activating your glutes. After that, you're going to intentionally spiral out. So you're going to get external rotation of your hip joint. My kneecaps are facing to the side. And then same motion, just tapping that kettlebell to the ground. And same thing, firing glutes, making sure that you're not tipping forward, making sure that you're not letting your knees come forward. So no tip and no knees forward. Trying to get your weight into your heels, toes peel up, and then making sure, I'll try and get you a good angle here, making sure that the knee and second toe is in alignment. So when you go down, you can just look down at your feet, and if you were to draw a straight line from your thigh bone, it should be directly in line with the line that your second toe is drawing. A lot of times people have a tendency to turn their toes out, but let their knees come forward. So you just want everything lined up there. And then same thing, feel free to add a little bit of an upright row. You can also, if your kettlebell is light enough, you can switch your grip and you can add a forward raise here. Obviously kettlebells are designed to be swung, so if you feel comfortable, you can get a little bit of momentum on the up, getting a little bit of power and speed out of those hips. Go about 5 more here if you can. And good. Okay. Moving on to that kettlebell swing. You're going to make your stance a little more narrow, toes pointing straight forward. You're going to have your hands facing backwards. You're going to get a little momentum here. So the goal is to always be in control here. It's way too easy to just let that weight swing back and you lose that glute activation. So start small and just tune in, again, weight in your heels. Tune into that control as the kettlebell comes down. You're trying to decelerate that so there's not a huge impact of your arms into your inner thighs. It's simply coordinating your body, lowering down as gravity brings the kettlebell down. Now I'm going to recommend you don't go overhead. That's an option, but it's really easy to let your hips go too far forward. So just swing to the point that your kettlebell is about shoulder width. And again, not letting your pelvis go too far forward there. Just thinking about rising up through your heels as opposed to forward through your heels. Crank out about 3 more here. And onto your back. I'll give you a top view here. We're going to be engaging obliques and obviously rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis. You're going to switch your grip so that if you were to smash your head with the kettlebell, it would be bell side down. And then you can play around with how far overhead the kettlebell is, but this is simply a tricep extension combined with a crunch. So your kettlebell is going straight up towards the ceiling because of the work of your triceps, and then your abs are simply drawing down and in, lifting your shoulder blade and your head off the ground. So here's a side view for you. Arms are pretty much at 90 degrees. If you want, you can go farther up overhead. You're drawing your rib cage down. The kettlebell is going to want to pull you arched off the surface that you're on. So you've got to tuck down and in first without letting your stomach poof. So drawing in, down, arms engaged. Do a couple just to figure out what your arms are doing, and then coordinate that with a crunch. If you want to get lats going, you can have straighter arms at your elbow joint, hinging more at your shoulder joint. Again, making sure your stomach is going down towards the ground, not poofing up towards the ceiling. Depending on how heavy your kettlebell is, you may only be doing 10 or 15 of these, and then depending on how strong your transverse abdominis is, you may notice that when you come up, if you look down, your stomach is no longer flattened, it's poofed up, and that's where you want to just rest and reset, or just move on. Okay, we'll do some obliques. You're gonna lighten your kettlebell weight. If it's been heavy on the squats, you're gonna wanna go lighter for this one. You're gonna recline your torso, and you're just gonna twist side to side with the kettlebell. Nice and light in your feet, and then trying to not be overly rounded here, okay? You're trying to open up your chest and just get some rotation at your waist. I'm sure you're sick of hearing this by now, but again, trying to pull your belly button back towards your spine. That may be your limiting factor. That is totally fine. We need that muscle stronger than your other ones. Hard to talk while you're doing that. Wouldn't recommend it. And back up to your feet. So working on hip rotators here, you could probably keep the same weight that you had for that last exercise. You're gonna grab onto the kettlebell with one hand, and you're gonna stand on that same side leg. So kettlebell right now is in my left hand, I'm on my left leg. I'm reaching back and behind to the side, tapping my foot, using my left glute in order to stand up,